Hello, today I am so excited to share with you this fun cracked glass technique showing you a vintage card. I know you can't see the detail very well in the video, but please check the PDF file for some nice close-up pictures as well. So this project uses a number of different stamp sets. Mainly we're going to use this one called Picture Perfect to create the roses and the leaves, but we're also going to add in two of my most used stamp sets, which are Gorgeous Grunge, which we've had for a while, and a newer one called Timeless Texture, which just has a lot of nice background type things, texture type things, and edge stamps. All right, so first we're going to start, I'll just start from the bottom and start working our way up. So first we'll create this background piece, then this blue piece, and then we'll move on to the cracked glass piece. Okay, now I'm actually filming this, it's about the middle of May, so there wasn't a great deal I could order from the new catalog to share this with you in June. And of course, all the papers that I have available to me at the moment are discontinued and will be discontinued by the time you're watching this video. So I needed to just kind of create my own background paper. However, if you have some really beautiful papers, you can go ahead and use those instead and then just create your roses or your main image to match the papers. So what we're going to use to create this background is this piece, this stamp, here. And I wanted it kind of multicolored. So this project, by the way, is really messy. So we're going to make some good mess. So we've got a Soft Sky ink pad and a Marina Mist. So you're going to get both of those open. And this is sort of like a rock and roll technique. I've already got messy hands. So I'm going to ink it up in the Soft Sky, and then I'm just going to tap a little bit onto the Marina Mist. So I'm getting a multicolored look like this. Now ideally I would go and wash this off, but I'm just going to tap it off on my grid paper and keep going. They're similar colors, and I'm going to rotate this motif. It's kind of a it's not a fleur-de-lis, but it's sort of I'm not sure what to call it, but I'll just rotate it so it doesn't look like just the same image over and over. I'm not going to bother stamping in the middle because that's all going to get covered. Almost there. All right, so we'll go with that. Close these two up. Now then, I want to use this stamp also from the Timeless Texture. This has become one that I've used quite a bit in the Crumb Cake. And I'm just going to stamp that along the edges and just a little portion of the stamp, not the whole thing. Our paper's already getting very messy. Okay, now even on top of that stamp, I'm still going to take my sponge and just ink along the edges, and that just softens the whole look, ties it together. This Crumb Cake ink pad is one that I wouldn't be without. This and Early Espresso and Smoky Slate I use quite a lot. In fact, I'd recommend just buying the whole pack of neutrals, which is 8 ink pads, and I think you get a bit of a discount if you buy all 8 at once. All right, so that's that one done. And I'll just fold my card base in half. Here's my bone folder. I'm not going to adhere this on straight away, but I'll just set that aside. Actually, there's one more little thing I'll do. Just going to take the edge of my scissors and rough up these edges. We used to have a really cool distressing tool to do this. But since we don't have that anymore, We'll just make do with our scissors. Okay, now I'm going to set this aside and we'll go on to our next piece, which is the soft sky piece, and I'm just going to put a bit of a white print on it. And in this case, I'm going to use this stamp, which I affectionately call the skid mark stamp. And we're going to stamp that one in white. And I just put ink in this, so hopefully it's not too dark. Okay. I'm not going to be too particular with this, just stamping. Most of this will get covered anyway with the oval. I know on the video you probably can't see that very well. Now I'm going to go across and do them across. So I'm creating kind of a cross hatch pattern rather than just stripes. Okay, I like how that turned out. Close that up. Okay, then I'll go ahead and do my crumb cake edging around this one as well. I might just stamp off. It's not quite so dark on this one. So I'm stamping on my grid paper first, so it's not quite as dark of an image. And then this white ink takes just a minute to dry, so I'm just being careful not to touch it too much. And just ink around the edges of this one as well. Then I think I will distress these edges. You can distress them much more than I am if you want to. Entirely up to you. I'll distress this one as well. Oops. And then we'll just put these two together. I'm just going to get rid of that and have a clean paper now. Okay, we can go ahead and glue this then to our other printed piece here, like so. All right, now we're going to move on to preparing this rose piece. I've already got the little words ready, so I'll just put those together. Now, what we'll do is I'm using the Oval Collection framelits. However, these, by the time you're watching this, these will be discontinued, but there is a new set of oval dies which are possibly superior because they have two sets of ovals and they are in 1/8 inch increments, so they're easier to nest together. But I don't have access to those at the time of making this, so I'm just using these older ones. If you happen to have these older ones, here's what I do to create a nice size to frame the vanilla oval is I actually use the die itself and just use this to trace around it and just create a little template. So the paper's a little bit small, but that's okay. So the issue is that this oval is the size I want, and then the next size up oval in this particular set of framelits is really too large for a nice frame. Okay. All right, that's about right. So let's just do these little bits first. I'll just ink around the edges of this and distress this up with my scissors. You see that the cutting is not perfect, and distressing it with your scissors or with a distressing tool is a good solution to that, because then you don't really see the edge anymore. Covers up all those mistakes. All right, then I'll just distress the edge of this one, and then let's move on to our more fun stamping. So I am using, or will be using, the Picture Perfect stamp set. We'll just set that aside. I'll set that aside. The Picture Perfect stamp set. Let me grab it again. And this one has a lot of really beautiful images in it. I know which is actually the case on so many stamp sets. They don't look like anything in particular when it's done in black and white like this, but once it's stamped up, I guarantee you're going to think this is amazing as well. By the way, those words that I just mounted up are also from this set. So you've got a rose, a starfish, a bird of some type. I think I knew what that was and now I've forgotten. And then a beautiful leaf. So we're going to use the rose and the leaf for this particular project. And I'm choosing to use Soft Sky and Marina Mist, and then our new color, Dapper Denim. So we'll get those open and ready. Then you've got 3 images for this rose. And if you'll notice, I hope you can see this on the video, each of the stamps has a little knob on it. You'll just want to take note as to where that's pointing when you do your first one. So I like to start with the base one, but in reality, it doesn't matter which one you start with. So if you prefer the dark, go dark to light, that's completely fine. So I'm just noting that the tab is pointing at about my right arm. And then I'm going to point it towards the top of the grid paper, and then one sort of towards my left arm. Something like that. I'm going to just stamp my inner piece while it's here, while the images are here. Okay, then the second one I'll do in Marina Mist. And you want to line that up over the top. So note where the tab is going, but also this one's actually not too hard to line up because the flower's got a bit of a curve around the outside, and so if you just sort of follow that shape. I say that, and then on camera it's always hard to get things perfect. Okay. So far it's looking okay, but not looking fabulous. But once we put this darker layer on, this is the new Dapper Denim, which I really am liking a lot. And then they're gonna start looking really cool. Okay. That was about like that, I think. And this one. Okay, those are looking really beautiful. Then I'm going to quickly put on some leaves. Let me just close these. So with the leaves, I've got 2 inks. I've got the Pear Pizzazz and the Old Olive. So I'll start with the Pear Pizzazz. I always wonder which way these leaves go. Okay. Now you could create a mask for these roses and then put the leaves even closer in, but in this case I'm just going to do them like this because we're just kind of creating sort of a wallpaper look rather than a garden. Okay, now then the second layer, I'm actually going to stamp it off onto my grid paper so it's lighter than the Old Olive, full strength, but darker than the Pear Pizzazz. Okay. These also have tabs on them, which I didn't actually take note of. And then the third one, I'm just doing full strength Old Olive. But they're gonna turn out looking just fine. I think that one actually goes that way. Okay. Then I'm going to take, let's see, which stamp do I have now? I've got the Timeless Texture again. I'm using this just little dotty one right here. And I'm going to stamp that off and just add a few little, this just fills in any white space, keeping in mind that some of this is going to get covered anyway with the ribbon and the words. And then if you want to, you can add a bit of that edging around again. Oops, didn't get much on there. just where there's white space. We're using Very Vanilla, by the way. And then I would ink around this as well. Okay, so it's looking very pretty. Now we're going to take this just one step further and do the cracked glass technique on this. So what I'm going to do here, and I probably won't do this all on the camera because it's going to take about 10 minutes, but what I'm going to do is cover the image in Versamark and then cover the entire image in clear embossing powder and then go heat it up so it becomes shiny. And then I'm going to do that about 5 or 6 times, so you've got a really thick layer of embossing powder over the top. Okay, covering it in the powder. All right, now I'm going to go and heat this, and then I'm just going to kind of repeat this about 5 or 6 times. So I'll be back and I'll show you the finished embossed piece. All right, I'm back. I've embossed this piece and it's got a very thick layer of embossing powder on it, almost like a big piece of plastic or linoleum right now. So then what you'll do is put this in the freezer for about 10 or 15 minutes. And what that does is it makes it then become really hard. And just so you know, it will curl up, but don't worry, as it comes back to room temperature, it will flatten back out. Now the next thing I wanted to show you on the video, but I really struggled how to do it, so I don't think I'll be able to. When you pull it out of the freezer, you need to immediately crack it about 2 or 3 places, and then all this embossing powder, this thick layer, will then shatter like glass. However, you have to do it immediately. Even walking from the kitchen, which is 15 steps away from here into here, the paper was then too warm and it wouldn't crack. So I've had to pull this out of the freezer. I don't know, you probably can't really see it on the video, a little bit through here. Immediately crack it and then just explain to you how that's done. All right, so I'll save that for next time. So then from here, oh, one more thing. If you want to, you can take, I've taken a slightly darker brown, the soft suede, and you can rub it over the top and those cracks will kind of pick up the ink. But just be kind of gentle because sometimes some of these shards will pop out if you rub on them too hard. Okay, so it's kind of picked up the color in those cracks now. I'll take a nice close-up picture of that one. All right, now we're ready for assembly. So on this, you'll want to use a fair bit of glue, more than normal. Whoops, I just lost a little piece, but that's okay. If you want to, oh yeah, I didn't say that. If you don't like what you've done, you can take this whole piece, even at this point, back over to the heat tool and just reheat it. The whole thing will remelt, and then you can just do that process again if you want. I'll just leave that out. All right, that's upside down. So then we'll put this on with dimensionals. My favorite. Every project, well, pretty much every project needs dimensionals. All right, we'll put that about there. Almost looks like an old, like something old that you'd see hanging on the wall. Actually, what we'll do is put these words right over where that little piece fell out. So that's perfect. Okay, then we'll use the new Dapper Denim ribbon. I love this color. And we'll do my knot, neat knot, which is, I have trouble with left and right, so I always have to think this through. It's right over left, and pull it, and pull the tails really long, and then it's left over right. And you see where my finger is still sticking out? Then you'll take the left-handed side tail and put that in through the hole where your finger is. Okay, then here's where it's important to keep holding on to these two tails and then pull up the knot from the bottom, and then you can kind of just adjust it and pull it pretty tight. But because you've held on to those, you've now told these where to go, and they'll stay nice and flat. So then use your ribbon cutting scissors. Oops, that wasn't very good. I'm really shaky today for some reason. And cut those, and then this will get tied around the card. Let's see, let's decide about where we want it. Maybe about like there. Love the new tear and tape adhesive too. Okay, so maybe about like that. Okay, oop, I cut myself plenty of ribbon, didn't I? All right, then we'll just adhere this whole thing to the card front. Make sure your card is right side up. I've had lots of upside down cards in classes recently for some reason. Then we can go ahead and put the inside in. And if you want to, you can, I think it's a good idea to go ahead and repeat this edging. If you've got it going on in the front, you should repeat it into the inside of the card as well. And we'll put that in. Oops. Okay, so there we go. Oh, one more thing, sorry. Actually, two more things. We're going to add some pearls, but also I wanted to mention, when this whole thing is covered with Versamark and then embossing powder and then you're trying to heat it, sometimes it's a little bit tricky because you don't have anywhere to actually hold because everything is hot or being melted. So what I did is I got a small box about this size, like a shoebox size, and I actually just put this piece into the box and then just heated it. And it didn't actually really move around because it was in an enclosed space. So that's one way you can heat something without getting burned. All right, then I think this style of card calls for pearls. So wherever you want them to be, but I tell you what, I go through lots of pearls. I love just adding a little bit of sparkle, rhinestones and pearls, sparkle and bling to the projects. All right, I think we're all done. So please give this a try, particularly the cracked glass. And also, if you don't have it already, this is a really fun set to play around with. So I hope you've enjoyed. Thank you.